Okay, so the question says, Erica and Asif sell newly designed digital watches. The profit on the watches they sell is determined by this relation, where N represents the number of watches and P is a profit, okay? They ask you to find the break-even points. Okay, so if you think about this, if we're relating number of watches, N, and profit, what point on the graph would be where I have broken even, when I have not made any profit? Where would that be located on a graph? Yep. Not 0, 0, because I still have to sell some watches, but it's when the profit is 0. So somewhere on the x-intercept, right? The x-intercept will be the point where I break even, because that is the point where whatever this number is, profit is 0. Profit would be 0 here. So I need to figure out what are the break-even points. So how many watches do I have to sell to break even? So if you're given an equation in standard form, and we want to know the x-intercepts, how do you find the x-intercepts from standard form? Factor. Factor it. So figure out the greatest common factor. What would the greatest common factor of each of these three terms be? And we're going to start with a negative, because the first term's a negative. We want to factor that out. What's the greatest common factor? -2. Good. Part B asks for the maximum profit. Yes. Let's pretend this is at 10 and 50. It's a parabola because it has a squared term. It's going to look something like this. Where is a maximum point located on a parabola? The y value of the vertex. Yes, we need to figure out what's the highest profit that you can possibly get. What's the most money you can make off of these watches? So I need to figure out the vertex. If you know two x-intercepts, what do you find? The axis of symmetry. Good. So the greatest common factor is -2. What am I left with inside the bracket? N squared minus 60n plus 500, okay? This just makes it easier to factor. We're trying to write the equation in factored form. So now I'm going to factor this. Can this be factored still? This is a trinomial, right? Where A is 1. So you're looking for product and sum. So we're looking for two things that multiply to give me positive 500 and adds up to -60. And then we can write it in factored form. What are the first two terms? -50 times -10 gives me positive 500 and adds up to -60. Okay, so we are trying to figure out the break-even points, which would be the x-intercepts on the graph, right? So if this is one of my factors, n minus 50 equals, I have to make my profit 0, right? In order for you to break even, profit has to be 0. You haven't made any money, you just broke even. So n minus 50 equals 0 and n minus 10 equals 0. $50 and 10. So there's actually two break-even points. If you sell 50 t-shirts, you break even, and if you sell 10 t-shirts, you break even. If my x-intercepts are located at 50 and 10, we need to find the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is which value of the vertex? Good, the x value. So how do you find the axis of symmetry? Add them together and divide by, good, 50 plus 10 is 60, divided by 2 equals 30. This is the x value of the vertex, right? But for the maximum profit, I need to know the y value of the vertex. Well, if you know x and you have an equation, What are you going to do with that to find y? Or to find the profit? Plug it in. Good. What was the original equation? Okay, so where am I plugging in 30? For which variable? Good, and we're solving for p. If n is 30, which is the axis of symmetry, what is p equal to? What is the maximum profit? So you guys calculate this now. We're finding the maximum profit. Don't forget BEDMAS. You got to do your exponents first. What's 30 times 30? To be -2 times 900 plus 120 times 30. Take away 1,000. Let me know what you get for the profit. So the maximum profit is 800. So the most money you can profit off of selling these watches is $800.